welcome y'all to your extended magic moon message. I thought I'd go outside for this one, get in a good walk, so you guys can walk with me. I hope you can hear me and the wind isn't, or the outside noise isn't blocking stuff. But yeah, y'all, I haven't done a extended magic moon message in a minute, so I want to recap pretty much all of Gemini season. Shout out to Synaptic Glories, you know what I mean? Shout out to y'all joining us live. Oh, cool. Shout out to Mama Malia. Yeah, shout out to those of you catching me live for the first time. That's awesome. It's never too late. Getting this summer body out here. It's about to be triple digit degree weather. It's still kind of like in the 90s. I got nothing but shorts on. You feel me? It is pretty hot. Are you woke? You feel me? Alright, y'all. So we're gonna come up onto the new moon in Gemini soon, and we're activating a brand new thought process, new ideas. It's giving Ace of Swords energy. I'm glad this might be really good timing for some of you guys. So yeah, the one thing I don't miss about the East Coast or Jersey is the cold. What do you guys think this means, by the way? A car stopped right there. That's an omen to you? Cool. I don't miss the cold weather in the East Coast, and I'm not the biggest fan of this hot weather either. But yeah, that summer body coming out, y'all. I just want to, I've been slacking off the first 60 days. So I just want to go hard the last like 15 days, which means I'm going to just actually start fasting instead of like eating late. And this ties into now imagineering and engineering new thoughts to now aid in the integration of new habits that will eventually come as well. So the new moon in Gemini is activating new magic. The last new magic we had, thank you guys for the birthday wishes, June 11th, coming soon. The big 34. So yeah, relative to that, let's go back to the full moon in Sagittarius. And then even before that, when the moon had just left Virgo and we started Gemini season off. The first like 15, 20, actually, I can't say the first 15, 20 days because I don't even think we're at the 20th degree yet. No, that's my birthday. So with that being said, we kicked off Gemini season appropriately right before the full moon. And with the moon in Scorpio immediately integrating the purity of this initial enlightened awareness, the most important thing to understand about this Gemini season is that it's producing the effect of the cardinal direction you moved in Aries season in order to establish with the new moon a new direction as you carve your character, as you express your character. All right, the full moon in Sagittarius we had last week. Okay, so we're completing the harvest of that. And after we charged forward this cardinal direction, which we know March of 2024 was after the evolution of 2023, April of 2023, where we expanded what more we could do with our awareness of who we are. And you went through that entire year, which is the beginning of a new chapter book. I love how the Book of Mel just joined as I'm talking about a 12 chapter book. So we initialized that since 2010, the last time we started a new chapter. And the reason why that's very key is Taurus season now with Uranus and Jupiter had us activate quality that's over 12 and 30 years in the making, and 85 if you want to talk about Uranus. And we have activated innovation of how we own our value, but at a more basic level, how strong we can sense energy, how strong we can sense phenomena with our natural senses. And now this Gemini season, shout out to Minty Hotep, is producing that enlightened effect, shout out to Chad the Maverick, that is giving us an initial sense of what the F we're experiencing, which we do every year. But this year, Pluto has been trining at 1 degree in Aquarius, enhancing with Jupiter the evolution of your vocabulary. And if you think of Gemini, Gemini is like the Navi. Gemini is your programming of your brain. So if you're operating a advanced operating system with a processor that is not updated to it, it's not going to understand the inputs and outputs, almost as if it doesn't have the programming language necessary to run advanced programs. So you've spent the past couple of years awakening and updating your hardware. If you think the earth is your body, your hardware, shout out to Sheena. And now Gemini is enabling you to update your processing speed and the software through Cancer and Leo that can now bring your consciousness up to speed to what you not only have activated, but throughout the rest of the year will integrate and now tie into how, through Virgo, you can express this to other people, Leo and Libra. Okay, immediately dragged by this info, I feel you. So with that being said, y'all, this is a very magical period, as the whole purpose of Gemini season that's producing the effect. We have 4 effects. We have the initial effect with this Gemini, you're going into that revolving door. Then we have the second effect in summer. The end of spring is the first effect. The end of summer is the real effect. It's the realist effect. It's the Virgo effect. The Virgo effect integrates the initial change and effect of Gemini that opens the door. Gemini is like taking ecstasy or any drug, whether it's like NyQuil, Dayquil, or methamphetamines. And once that initial change in your body begins to produce the effect of the drug, the change from you being sober to now feeling the initial effects is Gemini. You still haven't reached the peak of the release of that drug. It's just the initial effect to get you in the door and begin to explore many different paths you could take. Virgo is now going to integrate that, and it's going to perfect what mindset you're thinking. All right, the Fox Wellness Den, much appreciated. And then we have the third effect, the end of fall, summer. That's the best effect. Shout out to Sagittarius. That brings it to a peak. So if you take that ecstasy and it starts to kick in like, oh my God, doof, doof. Sag is where your shirt is off and you're waving it like, yeah, doof, doof, doof. It's the peak effect. All right. And then Pisces is overdose. If you somehow don't overdose and die, that's why Pisces magic is very uncomfortable, because that shit is like overdose. Or if you don't die, then of course the peak is going to balance back to your sober, or you die of an overdose. And realistically, it's over. It's like too much magic. It's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm dying. But other than that, okay, respect the first effect. All right, y'all be paying all this attention to Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, and you be hating on Gemini. Okay, I get it. We could be annoying, but come on, let's just show a little bit of love, show a little bit of respect. But yeah, this is not going to be like any Gemini season we've had. It's going to be reminiscent of the Attitude Era of the WWE franchise, which I think then was WWF. And now, unlike that era, we have a whole new generation of children who are getting ready to, with their creative karma, which is meant to bring in a new world. Let me talk about creative karma. Creative Pluto Sag, 95 to 2008. And then from 95 to 2008, Saturn reinitiated the karmic cycle since 95 or 1970 back into Aries. And then it goes to Virgo, and then Pluto goes into Cap. And if you have a Pluto Capricorn child, they're the rulers of the new earth, and they all have like businesses, whether online or not, at like 10. And that's just kind of strange. And then the Pluto Aqua children born now, if you have a baby born after 2024, you have an alien baby. Look, if you have a baby born in 2020 or 2021, I don't know why you did that, but like if you have a baby after 2024, that's an alien baby. That's not like any baby that has ever been born. And I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but you now have an alien baby that's not going to listen to you at 5 and is going to be reading your mind. And even at 1 or 2, they're going to be giving you weird looks. If you have a baby born after the year 2020 and they giving you weird looks and they don't even know English, I'm not going to tell you to throw that baby away. Emancipate that baby. All right. I'm sorry. Like, you don't know who you gave birth to. I'm saying it is what it is. That's a whole generation of these people. But like, other than that, yeah. This new generation is here to create the new world, and now that they're coming of age over the rest of the decade, there's a new sense of attitude being injected. We see this with older generations who are afraid of TikTok because the Gen Z is not following their narrative that they've been able to hand twist and force older generations to kind of just believe in. These younger kids do not give a fuck, and they have Pluto Sag. This is the XXX Tentacion generation. They will burn this bitch down just cause. So prepare, because they're coming of age the rest of the decade, and that's very terrifying. But other than that, attitude. What do you think? Because that's going to, en route, challenge what you believe. And that's the purpose of the first square. This is not like the 60s where Saturn and Uranus, well, Saturn, but Uranus and Pluto were in Virgo. This was when a lot of the social themes that are dying now were actually brought to prominence, especially with that hippie generation, right? And this isn't like the 80s and 90s where Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune were in Sagittarius. This is where Sagittarius had really that focal point, bringing things socially to a universal point. If we look at the 80s and 90s compared to previous cycles, this is where geopolitical infrastructure around how countries connect with each other started to connect and create a whole host of problems. Now we're in the 2020s where the focus is back to Pisces, and we're seeing an end of what we used to believe as we know it. Cycles like this happen literally every 200 years. But regardless, this Pisces-centric theme with Neptune in Pisces, Saturn finishing off that cycle, that will eventually by 2030 bring Uranus and Saturn to Gemini. That Gemini-centric energy is bringing new nationalism. This is why the beef between globalism and nationalism is really huge, because before, globalism was used as an answer to deal with nationalistic authority, which was corrupt. Now nationalism is rising again in order to deal with globalism that's corrupt. Of course, don't get caught up in thinking that there's a good guy and a bad guy. All is fair in love and war, really. But given this individual, the reason why you're seeing nationalism come back huge, not that it ever left, is the focus on the individual and the revolution of individual rights. As people are awakening past the lies in every country we've been told, which now brings you back to how you believe and identify yourself. And in light of supernatural abilities awakening that make obsolete old, because if you think science is strictly theory, science is based on theoretical models that through experiments are somewhat brought into credibility, but it's still really mostly a theory in a society of people who see less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So you still have a lot of people who don't believe in an afterlife and the whole concept of, a higher power in favor of materialist reductionism, which is hilarious. Anyway, other than that, the purpose of this Gemini season updated for this year is to completely change everything you have ever believed. And if you're not really aware of that, you're going to be blown by these winds of change that will make obsolete certain things you thought to be true. A very classic example of this in a short term, because a lot of this applies long term. Everything since 1994 and 5 when Saturn was last in Pisces, you can track with this 30-year cycle, and in the 1800s with Neptune and the 1700s with Pluto. All right. So if we look at the short term, just to give you an idea of how things we believed before, but some of us knew was bullshit, has changed in just such a short amount of time. What were you being told in 2020, right? You are seeing, as an example, Dr. Fauci being thrown under the bus like a fall guy for doing part of his job that he was forced to do. And I'm not saying this in his defense. I don't know everything he might be responsible for, but please be careful of this okie doke, because they're going to put figures out there that you can point the finger at and not really hold the true people accountable. And I'm not trying to open up a conspiracy and say like, oh, this was done for your detriment, but let's just take this, you know what I mean? You were told in 2020 that kids need to wear masks. You need to wear a mask. We need to social distance. And even though many of you were ridiculed for knowing that that was bullshit, now you're being told, hey, you know, looks like these, you know, even though we're going to lie and tell you that the V helped more people who were V'd than unV'd, you know, it wasn't necessarily as effective as we lied to you about. And yeah, you didn't really need to wear those masks. And yeah, you really didn't need to social distance. And soon they'll tell us that there was never any asymptomatic bullshit. And this is a trend you want to be mindful of, because for those of you who stuck to your guns in the face of getting gaslighted, I mean, we got gaslighted so much that year before now America came back and shit on you Americans by saying, look, we can trump up charges and change precedents to make the 45th president of the United States a felon overnight. If we can do that to the president, what do you think we can do to you? Dangerous was being established. And if you just fall for the okie doke, you're going to be happy that someone you don't know got charged a felon because the media convinced you he's a racist or some kind of white supremacist leader or whatever. And that's really adorable. But you have to look past these figures being used and see what does that represent for you as an individual. Because that's really moving forward, 2025, New World Order. Everything that's being fought over now with Ukraine, with Russia, with China, with these countries, you have to remember that these countries started off as nationalistic monarchies who were eventually overthrown in favor of communism or democracies or republics. And so now that you're seeing at the climax of this, the Saturn Pisces battle is the war being waged for who gets to define the new world moving forward. Who gets to define the revisionist history of what we are moving forwards. And you want to make sure you really, with this system of beliefs with Saturn and Pisces, stand for who you are first. The rights of the individual are some of the most important, because in order for individuals to get together and make a change, they have to stand by their own rights in integrity. This is where if one individual is corrupt, we need, of course, democracy or not democracy, but we need some element of collective power to hold back the individual. But if that collective is corrupt, we need individuals to put it in check. We put each other in check. So with that being said, this Gemini season is very important, especially with Palestine. In order to really understand what's happening with Palestine, I'm gonna make a video very soon about this. If you study the Saturn-Pluto cycle of Palestine ever since the Rothschilds and England instituted the state of Israel in the 1940s because Hitler wanted to just kick the Jews out of Germany, that will give you so much more insight into why everything is happening the way it's happening. And when you understand it's cyclical and it's not just coming out of nowhere, and Palestinians have been telling y'all forever what's happening, but it's just trending again, then this is going to help you understand we're at the end game. All right, like this shit is some dangerous shit. And if you get caught up in false narratives, whether through a transhumanistic agenda or false nationality, you're going to forget the truth that you're not a nation, you're not an ethnicity, you're not a culture. You have those things. That's not who you are. When you die, First of all, you're brainwashed to believe that you only live once and there's no life after this one, which is a crime against humanity. Second of all, you're not going to be acknowledged by your race. You're not. Your soul is not a color. It's very important to at least own what you have. So never be afraid of your ethnicity. Never be ashamed of your culture. Never be ashamed of your race. But don't be delusional to identify with it, because when you die, you're not going to be acknowledged as your race. You're not going to be acknowledged as your ethnicity. And these are things you can say here and people will roll their eyes at you because they don't know who they are, and don't let their ignorance of who they are project and influence who you know yourself to be. These things are expressed through reality and consciousness. So if I say that I'm a bad bitch and I can get pregnant and have periods, I have a right to believe that, but reality will show me that I'm a delusional ass motherfucker. That doesn't mean I still can't imagine I'm that. And there's a reality post I just kept through, but I'm only hurting myself if I do not personally stay real with myself. So this is enabling you to change everything you believe through direct experience of your own character and values, and how through magic, your word, that makes up what is. Mind you, when we're talking about magic, we're not talking about a Disney hat. Society has attempted to brainwash you and take away your magical ability by, as a kid, forcing you to believe that it's just fantasy or science fiction, forcing you to believe that magic is just some fantasy ability that can make things occur, when magic is magic is a branch of science. So just like a scientist will experiment and prove certain theories right, a magician does no different. It's magic sciences. A magician has to use the scientific method just like any branch of science. And when they now take away the fundamentals and put you in this semantic battle and then diagnose you with whatever mental illness, if you operate outside the box of what's normal, which changes with every age, this is what's putting you in a position through this Gemini season to recognize your own potential and ability. All right. Magic is the science, as science is the spirit. And spirit is just the breath. That's it. Spirituality is, that's it. How well can you build a lifestyle around proper breathing? None of this bullshit that other people put in. And when we also have to think about the renewal of new generations, many of you are carrying on traditions that your parents, their parents, and their grandparents were colonized to give up. When I went to Nigeria in 2015, and less than a week later, my grandma died, and I went to her funeral, they were bigging her up because she had powers of a seer. My Virgo Moon Aries dad is skeptical about magic. He don't believe in that shit, but he'll tell you that his mother saw things and they happened. And this is someone who don't believe in magic like that, will tell you, no, this shit is real regardless. And they're bigging her up because she gave those powers away in favor of Christianity. But you have to understand the sins of colonialism and neo-colonialism are coming back around. And the things that your parents and their grandparents may have given up because a colonizing force forced them to do so. This is facts. People have Stockholm syndrome and will tell you, no, they chose this. You were forced. You were influenced to give that shit up because you were a savage and you didn't know any better. So follow this religion. You may not realize how that influences you now and how you're awakening back in your DNA and blood. Please remember, prophecies, understandings before Gutenberg printing press were passed down word to word. And then anything that was in print over a series of times have been burned, have been completely destroyed, whether through the holy wars or whatever leader wanted to rebuild the land in its image. So that's still in your blood and DNA. Prophecies about you and your generation and what you're meant to do. And because the education system has failed you and has lied to you about your innate potential by telling you you're just a material being, that's not stopping you from, especially this Gemini season, awakening your own awareness of your quality. So what's happening this Gemini season? You're saying things, and at a much quicker level due to alignment of you awakening new hardware, it's happening. And you're coming out. I mean, ask Zay. Zay and I hit the casino. Yo, Zay had people looking at him like, you're lucky as fuck. And I was like, nah, he's just a Sagittarius. He is Sag. That's just a Sag. See, a lot of people aren't aware of Sagittarius and luck. And then my dude went back to the casino and won an extra $2,000. All right, like, it's not like ability like this never existed before. But with Jupiter and Gemini, the capacity for you to take reinforced attitudes and habits that you've been building over the past 12 years are exponentially expanding for you to now build a new behavior around. One that actually believes in yourself. Like, I have a new hack now. If I ever date a Sagittarius woman or even an Aqua who's 9th house of my sun, I'm just going to bet what they bet. Like, whenever I go out with Sag now, if they bet some, if I bet everything he bet, I would have come up with so much money. But I doubted my theory. That was the first thing. The first voice my spirit said was, look, whatever Zay bets, you bet. But my ego got in. I'm like, wait, maybe I might know some stuff, but I'm going to just trust my intuition. Hey, don't ever bet against Sag. I didn't bet against Sag, but you have to be okay with the wins and losses because their win-loss ratio is crazy. And I'm going to keep testing this theory. Like, if I ever date a Sag woman, I'm taking her to the casino. I'm getting $200. I'm cashing out 100 of them bucks. I'm giving it to her or him. If I go with Sag, it'll be like, hey, what you playing? And I'm playing it. If we lose the $100, that's cool. Zay, who won like $2,000, he lost $100 in one setting, but then he won an extra 2,000. So you just got to go with the ups and downs. And I'm not telling you to gamble. Gambling bad, okay? I'm not telling you to gamble. I'm just saying I learned a new hack, son. Gemini season taught me a new hack, son. Go and gamble with a Sagittarius. You're not finna lose. You're not finna lose. And I tested this before with an Aries who had Jupiter in the North Node on his sun. I bet black. He bet red. I was like, no. I'm betting red. I doubled my 100, got 200. I was like, let's go. It's a formula, y'all. It's a formula, y'all. I'm telling you. I'm going to test this a bit more, and I'll give you my results. That being said, it's very important to understand your word is your wand, and everything that you're going to activate, new moon in Gemini next week, is going to bring on the rest of summer that's going to have you integrate that into techniques you can use consistently. So this Gemini season, look at this. Psychic. This Gemini season is preparing to enhance your psychic abilities this year and next year, as your mind has to be a fertile ground to produce emotions, and these emotions need to be pure. That's why air is the 4th house to water, because you need to purify water with air in order to keep it non-toxic and disgusting and muddy and messy. So with that being said, it's important to really highlight how this Gemini season is getting you out your own way by taking newly defined beliefs about yourself in the world since March of this year. And the important thing about March of this year is March of 2024 is the very first time since the 1990s that we had Sun conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Last year, 2023 in March, Saturn entered Pisces, but we didn't have the establishing conjunction to start the cycle there. So since March of this year, this is the first time that you are now finally aligning these beliefs you've had about yourself due to experiences that transcended you out of old states of belief. What are these experiences? You might have not believed, oh, I can't make a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, or I can't reach this type of success. And then you did. And that served to change what you believe about yourself. Like, I didn't think that was possible before, but this happened, and that's showing me that it is possible. And now Gemini is, since that first Saturn-Sun conjunction in 30 years, providing the foundation of thoughts to think to support these new beliefs. And that's why the full moon and the moon in Pisces and the new moon in Gemini is doing its job to change everything you think, so that by the end of Gemini season, when we start this new moon next week, you have an awareness with the sun and an understanding with the moon of what to say to produce effects you decide. Because a magic spell is simply a program. And a program is what you think in order to program your brain towards your perception of an experience. Double slit experiment. Your awareness is what creates the change from particle to wave, or from wave to particle. And I'm going to make that sound like it's more magic than it has to, so I can drive this point home. There's a conscientiousness with your word that's going to be one that commands. You are a cosmic commander. You're not supposed to pray to some imaginary God in the sky that grants your wishes when the kingdom of heaven is within you. There is a universe inside of you. Everyone has a universe inside of them. And when you focus that awareness within, you create magic all the time. If you don't do this, you're still creating magic by reinforcing thoughts that you're not good enough, or this is why this keeps happening to me. And then you reinforce that feedback loop. Of course, if you've had years worth of negative programming, it may be difficult to overcome that, except Pluto's in Aquarius and Zeus is in Gemini. So it's shattering that in favor of a whole new update of your system. So now that the moon is in Taurus and we're getting ready to start this new moon in Gemini, I do want to recap, of course, the full moon in Sag and the moon in Pisces we just had. Because the full moon in Sagittarius was what showed you the truth of your perspective. It showed you a higher perspective of what true experiences to you that doesn't have to make sense to other people with Neptune and Pisces, because we have different semantics and language, and we have ways of saying the same thing in different ways that looks like we're disagreeing with each other. And if you want to think about it, your experience through this life is like four blind men who are trying to make sense of an elephant, and they're like, oh, this elephant is like a tree trunk, but then someone else is touching its ears. No, this elephant has like a flat cardboard, paper, and you're just touching different parts of the elephant. That with humans who see less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum, we're all hallucinating. That's it. We just share different hallucinations we have in an effort to try and understand what's real. And that's where this illusion could be persistent, because we can let efficiency and efficacy delude us into thinking we know what we're doing just because it works for us. But regardless, the full moon was what harvested the effects of the new energy and power in Aries and Taurus that you activated with the respective new moons in March and April and May. And this ascended perspective of the magic of your word was kicking off a game changer saga and cycle since the last week and a half that is getting ready to completely change everything you think. And now that the moon is out of Pisces, we're ready to activate this new line of thought. Okay? The definition of reality is mutually agreed upon hallucinations. Exactly. And personally, from the moon in Sag to the moon in Pisces, this helped in light of new information to transform your thought process, because it pushed you over the hump of facets and attributes of your own consciousness that you may have given that power away to others, and are recognizing that it's really all up to your word. Like, imagine Imagine people who've given their power away to demon tools and really feel like they can't, they have to rely on weapons, they have to rely on higher numbers of people. Imagine if you were surrounded by these people and all you had to say was the word. All you had to say was the word, and what you spoke happens. The way you kind of position yourself, the comfort and belief in yourself you have, will reflect in your mannerisms and habits. So that's why it's very important, now that the moon has finished out of Pisces and is completed or is completing this cycle, to really believe in everything you know to be true, because Saturn is definitely testing you on how about it you are. So you're not necessarily just believing things and saying things, but when it comes time to actually practice it, you fold. That's going to undo your own spell on yourself and just cast another illusion and spell on yourself, because you're constantly casting spells, spelling, speaking. That's it. So the whole thing, don't get caught up in arguments about, oh, spells are bad. You are always casting a spell. Your very nature is magical. And you can allow the advent of Roman Catholicism and religions, and then also, science, which is its own cult, to nerf you from this understanding when you could just use the scientific method to experience it yourself. Or you could take your goddamn power back and decide, relative to the integrity of the physics around you, how you make this work. There is the way, the truth, and the life, but you have to understand the ability for you to do this is going to come from your willingness to align to this way. And you can't really let someone tell you how that's done. You have to go through experience. It's not people who tell you, it's God who tells you through the Spirit, which is your own experience, which means it's okay to make mistakes so you can be corrected. All right, so with that being said, now that the moon has made it past Pisces over Saturn, you've come to a total understanding about what about your beliefs have to change to align with the truth you're moving forward. What about the truth you're speaking has to change to align with these beliefs, reinforcing this magic. And now that the moon is in Taurus, the moon in Aries helped you understand the raw element of who you can speak this truth to and with. And the moon in Taurus is making obsolete old values in light of new information. And it's quite literally strengthening your portal through which your throat chakra and your words, you create your reality. Sagittarius is creation. God said, let there be light. Bing! There you go. You feel me? And this is the same creation you do by what you uploading your thoughts in order to create more real in your behavior through Virgo, so that you can see the meaning of in Sagittarius. And that's what's going to make this go about of this 2024 year, not only bring war, but prepare you to defend yourself through war. I don't pledge allegiance to a nation, all right, that exists on conquered land. Many of you, in recognizing your nature as a soul, recognize that the earth is a conscious organism. And that might seep into your thoughts and your own way of communicating the fact that you're standing on conquered land. From indigenous tribes to colonialized nations, this cancer of a humanity, and I'm not trying to say humanity is cancer, it might really be more of an alien species, but this presence of humanity has at some point conquered the land we stand on. You did have groups of people who in their spirituality didn't see themselves as owners of the land, but inhabitants which co-created it. So there was a group of people on this land at a certain point in time that were not creating oil spills. They were not creating a problem of overpopulating non-biodegradable objects. They were not necessarily stealing resources from other groups of people to justify the selfish existence of their status as a nation. You know what I'm saying? The colonizers attacked and used their own rhetoric to justify, oh, they're savages, they didn't deserve it, why they're raping the land. So I'm not saying humanity, I'm saying the consciousness of this planet has been conquered. Some of you are being called by the earth itself to be a part of this Gaia liberation mission. I don't know if you're aware, there is a Gaia liberation mission. Gaia is connecting people beyond nationalities. Gaia doesn't see Caucasian, black. Gaia sees souls that are willing to liberate it from its oppressors. The territories that prey on people under duress with their militaries who are forced to build up its GDP, and people who have brainwashed themselves under this illusion of separation to believe that their nationality and pride is better than someone else's nation, to the point that we're separate, when it was never like that. This is really ran by a few elite people who want to keep and hoard the resources to themselves until we have the pole switch or a hurricane or an earthquake that will humble all of humanity. So I'm not trying to be a tree hugger here. Everyone's going to have their own opinion on this, but I'm just letting you know, as you become more conscious and as you realize separation is an illusion and we are allowed to honor our differences and our uniqueness, but still remember that everyone bleeds and everyone dies, this is what's going to be brought into focus as you be more disillusioned than ever to everything that you were taught as a kid before you were given a position to Infinity Gang, baby. Realistically, come into your own awareness and unique thoughts. What the fuck did I just do? Okay. So with that being said, y'all, this new moon in Gemini is going to take this reroute and change of the way you think, and over the rest of the next season, begin to integrate through Cancer of your feelings, your courage in Leo, and your behavior and analysis in Virgo, how to take these new abilities the new moon in Gemini will activate and now have them sprout through the ground through how you perform them. All right. So the moon in Taurus is bringing a tangibility to the nature of your ideas and your word. And if we think about how Pluto, in awakening the corruption of humanity, is intensely aiding into the expansion of Jupiter and Gemini now, and Venus that is traveling with the sun to polish the words and the draft you are writing for the rest of this year, I just want you to understand that whatever shit you've been talking up until now pales into comparison to the shit you about to be talking moving forward. And it's also going to put so much attitude and conviction behind what you're doing. A lot of people are just fed up and they're willing to fight and die for what they believe in more than ever. So don't get shaken up by what your media decides to show you to insert fear. Remember that first and foremost, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and you must align the decisions you make in integrity and be willing to commit to them, whether you're aware that it's the truth or not. You know, take responsibility for your actions and understand you are being guided by higher metaphysical forces and influences. To the extent that you blame everything on these higher forces, that's not responsibility, because you are co-creating. So at best you're an accomplice, or an accessory. So just really keep that in mind. I would, in preparation for this new moon, speak what you want to experience and take inspired action to, of course, commit to making that a reality. That, in its simplest essence, is how magic works. And thankfully, this resituation and redefinition of your thought process, in light of Jupiter coming back since 12 years to expand your vocabulary and awareness of how fucking magical you are, is going to now really change the way you speak as someone who knows, Pluto Aquarius, that everything you say has a magical property. Magical meaning it changes in your environment, and through repetition and consistency, it becomes a reality, yo. All right. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this extended Magic Moon message. Thank you for taking this walk with me. I'm just going to get in the habit of walking and doing these so I can knock out several birds with a stone. And if you would like a affirmation to say, the Aries season affirmation is I am almighty. The Taurus season affirmation, or you can say I'm an original, or I'm limitless. The Taurus season affirmation was I have an unlimited amount of anything. All right, you can continue to say those. The Gemini season affirmation could be, I'm limitless again. It could really be the experience of this. I stay in God mode. I am an awakened self. You want to say these affirmations present progressive. So whereas Aries was I am and Taurus was I have, you could say, I am enlightening. I am becoming my best self. All right. To aid in the present progressive nature of this, I am becoming limitless. I am becoming limitless. The truth flows through me, right? And to just, you don't have to say this repetitively over and over. Everything that you think, tie it back to that. Oh, wow, I just had an amazing walk today and I enjoy myself because I'm fucking limitless. Oh, yeah, I just had an argument with someone and I stood my ground and I didn't let them manipulate me because I'm limitless. So this is how you can integrate your own vocab in order to really facilitate this. I'm going to do another magic moon message after the new moon to now lead us through the quarter square of Virgo that's going to integrate this new activation of a mindset. And the beautiful thing, why is it that this moon in Taurus is going to make tangible this obsolescence of old thoughts? Because you're going to really experience for real the causality of what you say and how it happens. The moon in Taurus is going to show you a time lag that once the moon is in Gemini, there won't be a time lag. And then when the moon's in Virgo, you're going to be integrating in between that time lag, and we're stepping forward this new era. Just be mindful with Neptune and Saturn out of integrity, the ways with which those can prey on fear to now have you be like, oh, that's not magical ability, that's evil, or oh, be careful of doing this. Don't let people take your power away. Go through the trial and error yourself. Don't let people do the scientific work for you. Do it yourself. All right, find out these discoveries yourself. Make the mistakes yourself. Come into solutions yourself. And so as everyone does it themselves, we can come together and share our results, and then of course move forward. All right. Be very mindful of those around you who are so intimidated of your growth and evolution. They have to diminish your work. All right. People who have to put other people down in order to make themselves feel better can never be trusted because they don't even believe in themselves. People who believe in themselves and their own power, true alphas, they raise other people up. True alphas aren't like, you're a beta, you're a beta, you're a beta. Buy my course so I can make you like me. No, true alphas are able to look at the strengths of others and do the work to bring up the rest of the pack. And I don't do this alpha, beta, zeta shit. That shit been debunked. Idiots believe in that shit. Everyone has the potential to really step up and be who they are. And not everyone follows a pack either. So, with that being said, claim your power. Don't let others be intimidated by how you've grown outside of the box they put you in and how they used to be able to leverage your lack of self-esteem and you giving your power away against you. Now that you've taken your power back, you see in their true colors, and let them keep snitching on themselves. Y'all stay blessed as always. For those of you who want to catch the replay, you know the deal. Join my membership. All right. And if you're already watching this on YouTube, stay blessed.